We are now recording. This is for Internet Day 2023. It's May 16th and 17th in Argentina.
Gracias, Jeff. Y en realidad quería decir que justamente esto que estamos pudiendo hacer, este Internet Day, hemos tenido muchos participantes que lo han hecho de forma remota y usamos todo el tiempo Zoom, WhatsApp, Telegram, FaceTime para hablar por Internet. Y la industria creo que te lo debe muchísimo a tu tarea, a tus innovaciones y por supuesto a la Pulver Order que presentaste en 2004 en la FCC, con lo cual creo que a partir de ahí se desarrolló todas las comunicaciones sobre IP, pero por favor, quiero que lo cuentes, introducite propiamente. Gracias.
I'm grateful to be invited. I'm grateful to be part of the celebration. So thank you. I am Jeff Pulver. My world and my interaction with the internet started a long time ago. The internet, as I understand it, came out of work in DARPANET in the 1960s. The first time I played with the internet was in the late 80s, using CompuServe to send email to Lotus Development Corp because I was writing spreadsheets back then. And then I first got involved as a hobbyist on the internet in the early 90s as an alternative to other online services like CompuServe and Prodigy that were coming together in the States. I've been a ham radio operator, that is, someone who speaks on the radio to talk to people, since I was a kid. And that as a kid is how I discovered my passion to communicate, my desire to speak to the world, as much as I'm able to do this today using these technologies. When I was growing up, the radio saved my life in terms of gave me a chance to reach out outside my world and find a new world of friends and a chance to be connected in a beautiful way. And it was my passion for communication that ultimately helped me figure out what my purpose was and what I was to do. And around 1993, I started working full time on Wall Street. I had a software company before that. And one day I looked online and I saw that there was this software coming available called Internet Phone. We called it iPhone, and it was not from Apple. The Apple stuff didn't happen until 2007, and this is 1994 going into 1995. And in February 1995, a piece of software enabled me to use a computer like I used to use my amateur radio, where I could go online and talk to people all over the world. And like my radio, it wasn't so good. There was noise. It was hard to understand. The quality was not perfect, but there was a future there, and my passion was reignited. And I said, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And one of the things I loved doing as a kid was if I had a friend, let's say in Buenos Aires, who had family in New York City, I would use what's called a phone patch. I had a device that connected my radio to the telephone. And so forget about long distance phone calls. You just have to speak to Jeff, get Jeff on the radio, and you can hop off from my radio and I would make a local call for you. Now, there was no privacy. The whole world could hear what you're saying, but to the extent that you're speaking with loved ones, you're speaking to friends, it was all good. And so I did that. And then when I found my hobby again after all these years, I said to myself, it'd be kind of cool if we could do this all over again using the internet with a phone patch. And in effect, in October 1995, which for some people was a lifetime ago, I launched a project with the help of a few other very smart people called Free World Dial-Up. Literally, it was free. It connected the world. And at that time, it ran on dial-up. And it was a proof that it was a foreshadowing of both the future and proof this was possible. And very innocently, because there was no business for me. This was not like, gee, I'm giving up my day job. No, no, no. This was a hobby, and I had fun. And I got other people to enjoy that fun. Now, the media, the press, took me very seriously. They were writing these stories about some underground person who was offering free phone services and enabling many other people to create this huge buzz of what's the future of the telephone, because it's going to be free and distance is going to die. And well, some of that happened. What I did not expect was in March of 1996, 300 phone companies in America went to the US government and said, hey, stop it for us. Stop, stop, stop. They asked for, from a regulatory voice, they said, oh, let's stop the sale and use of internet telephony software. And by the way, if you make the software, you should be regulated like a phone company. Like, what? And on the mailing list, literally a trade association was born called the Voice on the Net Coalition, von.org. I made up words back in 95. I still do today, but in 95, I said Von stood for a voice on the net and video on the net. And so I created a trade association because I didn't know I couldn't. I'm very happy to say that von.org still exists today. And to this very day, it is out supporting innovators and opportunities on the internet. And so, but I had that experience. The petition never went anywhere. Von.org happened. The same year in 96, I first started I did the Talking Net in New York City. And in April of 97, I started the Von conferences, which became the trade show for this. And what you were talking about, the Pulver order, what happened was the Von conferences grew from a gathering of some like-minded people to a gathering of people that brought people from all over the world together. And that's where the industry was really born, where voice over IP, which today is a key component of about a $2 trillion global market for telecom, that's where a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the protocol, the technology had to evolve, a lot of business relationships came in together. That's what Von was good for. And in January of 2003, a few years after the ACTA petition, I reached out to the same attorneys who represented me for the Von Coalition. I said, hey, is it possible we can ask the US government for something proactive rather than reactive? Can we ask them for a ruling? Because I had a dream that broadband, being able to be on broadband would be huge for innovators, great opportunities to do so many things. And I had a fear. I had a fear that the phone companies would understand how powerful this could be and how disruptive broadband might be to their future, that they would want to somehow stop all innovation on broadband and keep it to themselves. And I had a lot of reasons to feel that way. And rightfully or wrongfully, I asked my attorneys, hey, can we ask the government for a ruling? They said, you could ask the government for whatever you want. No guarantees they'll take an action. And we filed the petition on February 5th, 2003. And on February 12th, 2004, so right now it was 19 and a half years ago almost, the petition was granted. What does this mean? It meant that voice, and by default video, but we'll just stay with voice communication that originates on the broadband internet should not be regulated as telecom, which seemed obvious to me. But if you saw all the people that opposed it for political reasons, forget about technology reasons, it wasn't so clear. But I could not imagine the pandemic if we had all of us had to work from home, stay from home, study from home, and we had to pay for all this. And I'm very happy to say that in many countries around the world, they adopted the thinking of the FCC so that, if you originate a communication on broadband, it is not telecom, which has lots of implications. And so I am really grateful for this to have happened and to be able to celebrate by communicating via, different platforms today. And so that is a contribution that I am happy about. And a lot of life lessons for me about that. One of them is, if you don't know you can't do something, anything is possible. That nothing is impossible. That we block ourselves from the opportunities because we just say no to ourselves, as opposed to yes. And that when you go down that path, anything is possible. That literally the next person you meet can change your life. And that when you're open to it, there's a lot of, I don't know how to say, como se dice, serendipity and synchronicity in Espanol, but I'm able to recognize the magic that people have. And then there are moments in our life where I'm not thinking about yesterday, not worrying about tomorrow. I don't worry, I really like to let go of worry. But when I'm in the moment and I can appreciate where I'm at, it's a beautiful place to be. And then I can see these connections between opportunities and people and places. And it's a very powerful place. And these are gifts that anyone has access to. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. if you put yourself in motion and you set yourself with a goal, not everything is possible, but many things are. You just have to allow yourself to dream. And as they say, dream big. It's the same price. And speaking about price, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. It doesn't cost anything to smile and to give a hug or to show kindness. It's all up to you. You know, the prices we pay for things is reflective of who we are. And while I do believe in, you know, profits and making money, I'm also an advocate for kindness. I'm also an advocate for being present. And I think that when we look at how the world is and how the world may be, you know, I'm not afraid of artificial intelligence. I'm not afraid of innovation. I may be worried about some people who run countries or run companies, but the technology itself has good purpose. It could do bad things if the intention is set to be bad. It could also do great things if the intention is set to be good. So it's how we perceive and how we act. And so, you know, it's a great honor to be present at Internet Day 2023 this way. I believe in the future I'll be there in person. I can come and congratulate everybody in you know, there literally in the presence, because it's I'd much rather be someplace. I just would not. I couldn't join everyone in person today, but I'm honored and thrilled to not only know this is going on, but to be available to contribute to where the internet goes.
Gracias, Jeff, por compartir esa historia personal. La verdad es que muchos de los asociados que tiene la Cámara creo que tienen historias parecidas. Son guerreros que están en el interior del interior, en la Patagonia, dando servicios de comunicaciones y que iniciaron con esa pasión, ¿no? Para dar servicios a sus familiares, a sus amigos, y eso es lo fue impulsando, así como la historia que vos contás. Yo quería preguntarte, nosotros, lo que es telefonía, el año pasado acabamos de implementar la portabilidad numérica para líneas fijas, seguimos trabajando en ello, en portabilidad numérica geográfica, portabilidad de tipo, trabajando en el plan de numeración, los números de emergencia, y hay una cosa más. Argentina no solo es campeón del mundo en fútbol, también somos campeones del mundo en los llamados spam, en los llamados no deseados. Es un problema de la experiencia del usuario que llama. Hoy recibir un llamado de teléfono, si no lo conocemos, es todo un susto. ¿Cómo ves el futuro de eso? ¿Cómo debemos proteger esos identificadores únicos que son el número de teléfono? ¿Cómo ves la industria debería seguir trabajando para mejorar esa experiencia?
Well, the biggest challenge I think we have on the internet is, and certainly with telephones, is trust. That when we can allow ourselves to trust again, that the phone number that shows up on your phone is really from the person you trust it to be, more people will answer the phone. We're living in a time where we should have much more call completion. That is, when I dial somebody, I should not expect voicemail. I should not expect to be thrown away and just not answered. It should be replied to. And so, you know, local number portability is interesting and key. So is the ability to have the rules, and the ability to have numbers is part of it. Because if you think about it, you know, whether or not a phone company owns that telephone number, or a company or someone else owns that number, for a lot of people, their brand identity is their phone number. You know, in America, for example, if someone has a cell phone, chances are that the area code that their cell phone represents is where they went to high school, where they were living when they were in high school. That's what their phone number was. And in fact, for me, it's the same thing. I got a phone at a certain age. I am not living in the same area code or the same state. And there's rules and regulations that dealt with numbers, and there's a lot of politics in terms of how fees are allocated across states based on telephone numbers. And so that's outside of my scope of knowledge, but we all pay that price. But from a branding perception, the ability for us to go from one operator to another, to have that local number portability, and for us to associate that brand with ourselves, and for people to know that this is my number, there's great value and great hope. And as much as someone may have a domain name, which is like I'm pulver.com, and I've had the same phone number now for probably 20 years or more, that number is my identity. Now, for most people, though, and this is one of those things that as you get older, it's a different culture. I grew up in the world where I had to memorize people's phone numbers to know them, so that for me, if I was friends with you growing up, I would know your phone number in my mind. It was how my mind was programmed. And then when mobile phones happened, all of a sudden my special skill went away. No one needed it because all I had to be was an entry and press a button, or even with speed dial. But for me, I associate phone numbers as brands. Certainly in the world of texting, with commercial texting, 1-800-Flowers, for example, that was a brand in America. They actually did not have, it's a long story, but the ability to text 1-800-Flowers, someone hijacked it. And so a different company was getting the texts being sent to 1-800-Flowers because on the landline, they got the dial tone. But on the messaging side, they weren't getting it. Now they are. And that's because the rules and regulation for text messaging was separate from dial tone. And so these technologies are converging. And when we think of consumers, let's think of giving them new services that add value to their day-to-day life. So having the flexibility of having your number stay with you, follow you, find you. And one of the nice things about AI in the future, I believe, is that the ultimate find me, follow me service can happen. And this may sound a little creepy, it's intentional, but imagine that you and two friends are spending the day together and your phone is about to die. Imagine if you could tell your operator, for the next 3 hours, if I get a phone call that's urgent, that's tagged urgent, these are two different numbers that are next to me, please call these numbers instead of calling mine. Or we could be like in the Matrix, we could say that, within 100 meters of where I am, there's actually a payphone, or there's a hotel, or there's a restaurant. All of a sudden, that call goes to the restaurant and it's for me. And they know to ask. So these things are possible. It's possible because we understand location, we understand how to program. And some people will say, no, don't do this. It is my privacy. But if I opt in for it and I say, please help me, I'm expecting a very important call and my phone is going to go away. And that goes back to my other point about trust, because in the end, I believe voice is always going to be the killer app. There's so much metadata associated with hearing someone's voice, particularly if there's some tragedy or some issue just hearing their voice is magical, and being able to say I love you, and being able to say I'm okay and I got here safely, or I'm busy, but this is why you couldn't hear me. These are all important things. And so I do think that as we mature and technologies mature, the value of someone's voice just goes up in time, not down. And that the more we can deploy technologies to enable people to hear the person and speak to the person they want to talk to at that moment in time is magic.
Gracias, Jeff. Realmente es un tema de confianza, ¿eh? Realmente has cubierto todos los temas. La portabilidad numérica, los números de emergencia. Tenemos que, como industria, seguir trabajando en eso, en volver a darle confianza a la voz. Yo creo que la voz es una aplicación muy importante, muy interactiva, que suene el teléfono, es maravilloso. El valor de los números de teléfono, que es de todos los operadores que componemos la red. Y seguir trabajando con el regulador, ¿no? Nos has mostrado que se puede trabajar con el regulador, lo que hiciste en tu caso con la FCC, nosotros también seguir trabajando acá en Argentina. Y bueno, agradecerte y ojalá puedas el próximo año estar presencial en el Internet Day de Argentina. Ojalá puedas venir por acá en un momento.
I would love to be present next year in Argentina. That would be amazing. And just in my closing note, just know that as innovation happens, don't assume that if regulations come out, they're going against you. It's sometimes regulators don't understand what you're doing. And what I had discovered during the conferences I ran with Von in the first generation of it, I invited regulators to come to the event so that they can meet the entrepreneurs and hear from the entrepreneurs directly where the innovation was going. Because sometimes, at least in the US, there are these people called lobbyists. Lobbyists like to lobby on behalf of an incumbent, and makes it occasionally difficult for new innovative technologies to come through. So my way to bypass the lobbyists is to go directly to the folks that regulate and say, hey, come to the event, speak, listen to the people, and make your own decisions based on the truth of where we're at, as opposed to someone's opinion of where we might be. And I find that the direct conversations work the best. And truly an honor to be your guest. Grateful to know you. And please continue doing the magic that you do. And thanks for doing so much for so many people. It is truly an honor to be here.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.